One of the most interesting lessons that I learned about interpersonal relationships, I learned from a cat. So the thing about me is that I'm a huge cat person. I could be the cat lady. I love cats. Cats are by far my favorite animal. I could be a cat in human form. That's that. I love cats. All cats. I had never met a cat that I didn't like until until I moved back in with my parents in 2008, and they had Tigger. It's funny. Never until him had I met a cat that I did not like. When I moved in there, it was like, oh my God, I didn't think it was possible, but I don't like him. He was angry. He was a mean, angry cat. Like, offensively so. He would attack you if he imagined that you might get too close to him. He was swatting, but oh my God, if he managed to latch on to your hand, that he was going to kill it. Like, he bit and scratched for real. Like, he was facing his mortal enemy. It was crazy. So I didn't try to make friends with him. I just, he would come around and I'd be like, no, like I'd keep my distance from him. I wouldn't really try to do much. I might give him one little pet on the head and just stop. He would swat. He would swat with nails too. He didn't just swat to warn you. You try to touch him when he didn't want you to touch him, and that was like I'm gonna scratch you if you even try. So, and he was a mischievous little thing too. He would climb up on things. He would get into places he wasn't supposed to get. And good luck trying to get him out, because he would murder your hand. Like, ow, ow, ow. What I ended up doing was, they don't like water too much. So my solution was, instead of trying to grab him and take him out of wherever it was he was, or whatever he was doing to try to physically stop him, I would wet my hand and sprinkle water at him and he would run away. So that was my solution to that. And over time, I got used to how he was, and I just accepted that cat is a mean cat who is going to try to hurt me if I try to do anything he doesn't like. So I accepted that. And he's a cat. So I was like, all right, fine. As long as I don't bother him, and if I don't get too close, then he won't hurt me. So, years passed. I think it was 2 years. 2 years passed, and that was how I did it. He loved to get in the pantry. We had a walk-in pantry, and he would love to get in there. And good luck trying to get him out when it was time to close the door. So that was one of the that was one of the biggest times or one of the most recurring things that would happen, that I would sprinkle, throw water at him. Sometimes it'd be quite a lot of water to get him out of there. And eventually, it's funny, after many, many times, like a year or so, I'd see him walking to the closet and I'd be like, no. And he would sort of like, he would give some annoyed meow and like, not even go in it sometimes. And that was kind of interesting. I was like, okay, well, he's kind of getting it, because I'd say no and he'd go in and then I'd sprinkle him with water and he would run away. Eventually, at times, not every time, but at times, he would just be deterred by the no. And he being around and being a cat, I couldn't help but want to pet him. So I would sometimes and give him a nice pet, and he would try to kill my hand. But then one thing I noticed was, and I never insisted. He would do that, and I'd be like, okay, leave me alone and walk away, whatever. Wouldn't try to do anything else. And over time, as that became my consistent response to his kitty boundaries, because that's really what it was. He was imposing his kitty boundaries, and that was how he had learned to do so, by hurting the human that was trying to cross it. Well, as I continued to not cross his boundaries once he set them, he actually started to not use his nails on me. He wouldn't try to hurt me, this a year or two in, I don't remember exactly, but I would go pet him and he would just hit my hand. No nails, just swat it like boom, nope. And I'd be like, oh, okay, buddy, no, that's fine. And I'd walk away. And he actually started to allow me to pet him a little bit more. That was kind of interesting, so I did, and then he'd get tired of it and he'd swat my hand and I'd be like, gotcha, walk away. And, I'd sometimes come over to him. He'd be sitting doing, some kitty lounging or whatever, and I'd walk over to him and give him a quick pet and walk away and leave him alone. Well, what started to happen was that then suddenly he was going into my room more. So I'd go into my room and he'd be sitting on the table that was in front of a window, and I'd do that same thing. Go in, pet him real quick, and he'd be like, swat, and I'd be like, gotcha, okay. Well, one day I was sitting in my room on the floor, cross-legged. I don't remember exactly what I was doing, reading, writing, something. And he comes in and he walks over to me and he curled up in my lap. Now, I nearly died in that moment because it was like, what? The demon cat is cuddling with me? Oh my God. I was in shock. It was the most incredible experience, that I'd had with, it was, I was in awe. And then he and from then on, I remember laying on my bed and him coming over and curling up next to me. And I just, and these things started happening. And he started to trust me. He realized that he could be himself and I wouldn't do what he didn't want me to do. I would honor his boundaries. He didn't want to be touched, so I didn't touch him. He didn't need to hurt me in order for me to respect his boundaries. And I was in awe of this, because seriously, when I met him, he instilled fear in everybody. Everybody, all of my sister's friends who'd come over, anybody who came over would be like, oh yeah, the demon cat, because he would hide and attack people just because he, I don't know, I think he was just being offensive, trying to defend himself by being on the offensive always. And to witness that transformation, I came to realize that it's the same thing with people. It's just that as a cat, as a creature that is not governed by reason and logic and does not have the mental capacity that we have to control these reactions the way we do as humans with our cognitive reasoning and all the stuff that makes us humans, he just would react from what was natural for him instead of try to, be polite or act in the right way or whatever it was. He just did what came naturally to him, and that was his That was his way of protecting himself. And it just, for me, it just really solidified how we can transform our relationships with people, with animals, with any being. We can transform our relationships by being attentive to the truth of what is happening, by paying attention to the other being, what they need, what they want, what they accept, what they do not accept, and honoring it, not trying to force what we want onto them, but honoring them, respecting their boundaries, choosing to step back from ourselves and see them as they are and simply accept it. Like, I didn't get mad at him. I didn't shoo him or try to, discipline him or swat him back or, hurt him back or anything. It was like, woo, okay, sorry, bub. Guess I won't do that. He had some pretty extreme ways of putting up his boundaries because that was what he learned to do in order to be respected. And if you think about it, we can see this in people as well. If you can step back and not take it personally and just understand that the people are reacting in these ways. And I mean, of course, taking into account that we have an extra layer on top of that. We have the mental rules and regulations and images and misconceptions, the part of our mind that overrides these deeper instincts and impulses, which definitely adds another layer of complexity to this. But if we can step back and try to look at the other person, at the other being, without making it about us, without seeing it through the lens of our experience, and trying to simply observe completely objectively, unemotionally in a way, just go look and see what are they doing, why, not that they're a bad person, taking judgment away from it too, just observing these simple things. Where are they trying to protect themselves? How are they trying to protect themselves? How is lashing out and being offensively defensive? Are they trying to make the world respect their boundaries? So anyway, this was one of the most fascinating and interesting lessons that I learned in the beginning. This was like way back in the beginning of my shadow work, when I was first doing the path work. And sweet little Tigger, he's gone now. He passed away some years ago. He actually, in time, he became really, really sweet as everybody kind of left the house and he was left to his own devices. Last time I went to visit my dad, and he was still, this was 10 years ago, and he was still alive. Tigger was still alive. My dad's still alive. When I went to go visit my dad 10 years ago and Tigger was still alive, he was a transformed cat. It was all about him feeling like he wasn't having his boundaries respected. Now, mind you, my family is super loving. They never, ever would do anything to hurt him. There was no abuse. There was nothing that was intentionally hurtful happening to him. However, we love them little animals kind of a lot. And I would say that in general, we were maybe not respecting his boundaries and trying to give him love and attention at those times when he didn't want to. So that's the other thing. It's not necessarily just when the just when we're coming with intentions, when we're hurting the others, but we can disrespect them by trying to give them love when they are not in a place to receive it, when we want to give them affection and they're not wanting it in that moment. It becomes too much. It can become smothering. It can, and we'd be like, oh, but I just want to love you. And it's like, I'm sorry, but it's not time right now, And then, so he became the sweetest cat when he simply had the room to just be the kitty that he was. And this is a lesson for us to apply to all beings, to all people, to step back and truly try to see the other and what they want and what they need and what they are able and willing to accept in the moment and not take it personally. Give them that space to be themselves.